So initially, a bit of scene setting, a presentation overview of what we can expect today, and how we will be addressing the many and varied topics relating to lighting, energy, and carbon. So, carbon neutral state sector by 2025. How can good lighting assist? So, setting a bit of context as to where this idea, where this notion, where this necessity has come from, and how the lighting industry is making some tangible efforts and putting into efforts, investment, and actions in order to make lighting be a good assistance in the quest for low carbon construction, infrastructure, and operations. So overall, initially, if we look at Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations, many of us in our work, either in government or in industry or in NGOs, have come across the 17 United Nations SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is a very broad scope initiative about providing some sort of focus and tangible framework for good governance, good management, good operations in both the public and the private sector. So as far as it relates to building in New Zealand, construction, operations, and in particular lighting, it's this one, SDG number 12, responsible consumption and production, that we are focusing on today. And as Chris mentioned earlier, I have strong levels of activity and standards, Australian New Zealand standards, IEC and ISO international standards, and the UN SDGs are very much a focus of new standards development and acting as a framework to make sure the right focus happens on the work that we do on standardization committees, which become technical standards for engineers and construction people to work with and regulators to use for appropriate regulation. Then, coming to New Zealand, we have the Zero Carbon Act of 2019, which is a tangible government act and an initiative that we, both public and private sectors, need to be working towards. And at present, we're speaking quite generally about how we actually get there. We have some headline targets that we need to work to, and objectives and frameworks, but really, as we in the lighting industry thought, both consultants, both suppliers, designers, etc., but what do we actually do? How do we get there for lighting? So about 6 or so months ago, Lighting Council developed this, what we call a position paper, how lighting can support New Zealand's economic recovery and the goal of a net zero economy. Bit of a mouthful there. And the post-COVID sort of effort, emphasis was put on because of the economic recovery from COVID involves quite a bit of emphasis on construction infrastructure and similar initiatives for employment and economic reasons. But really the crux of it needs to be, we need to build better than before. It's not business as usual. We need to use this stimulus to actually create better outcomes than what would have happened without some better focus on energy and carbon. So there's a document here. We have some out on the table there, so I encourage you to take one away before you leave. And at the back of this, we've got 10 recommendations. I'm not going to run through these in detail, but the actual recommendations about how lighting performance can be improved, not just energy and carbon, but also the livability of a lit space, be it a home, be it an office, be it a commercial or industrial building, how it can actually be better. And we've woven in these recommendations into our presentation today. So we hope they make some sense. There is, of course, a focus on energy and carbon, on the technologies that can achieve better outcomes in this area, but it's very important not to forget what lighting is for. It's for people, it's to create workspaces that are productive and people can work comfortably in those workspaces, and but also have better energy and carbon outcomes. So that's our overview. who is Lighting Council New Zealand? Chris has given a little bit of an introduction to that. Our role and purpose, we're an industry association, so it's about lighting equipment, lighting suppliers, and that's changed quite a lot in recent years. Our member companies, 28, are these brands here, from both very, very large multinationals through to very small SMEs, so cover quite a range in that swathe. Standards development activities. Lighting Council funds and provides technical and logistical input to a number of standards organisations, Standards New Zealand, on energy standards, Australia New Zealand standards in lighting, energy, light pollution, obtrusive lighting. It's not just about energy and environmental aspects, but also, and very particularly, the IEC, which is the International Electrotechnical Commission, which is a Geneva-based SDO, Standards Development Organisation, that is the custodian of electrotechnical standards worldwide. Electrotechnical standards meaning products that run electronic and electrical products, computers, phones, home appliances, industrial equipment, and lighting. And Lighting Council people are very much involved in leadership work within the IEC, not just there as let's say, rank and file committee members, but we actually lead several projects internationally. And that knowledge comes back to New Zealand and is filtered through to a range of parties. And also ISO are much more important in lighting now, now that lighting products and systems and are not just about widgets, if we could call them that, but are involved actually as ICT pieces of equipment, information and communications technology, and the management standards that need to go with those, such as cybersecurity and things, generalist things of that nature. Government industry interaction. Lighting Council works quite closely with several government agencies, ECA, of course, here today, and regular and ongoing interaction with them on standards and programs and keeping each other up to date. MB, the WorkSafe division for electrical safety, but it's not just about electrical safety and not electrocuting people. It's also an element that's come in with the LED revolution called photobiological safety, which is about eyesight and vision and comfortable activities there. And MB, radio spectrum management, which is the EMC, the electromagnetic compatibility side of MB, but also the broadcast communication side of things. So you'll hear, you probably know already, but you'll hear more about later today about radio spectrum management and the fact that lighting systems and lighting products within those systems are no longer simple chattels. They are parts of a connected system which send and receive data over the air or over power lines, and there are broadcast communication issues that need to be managed along those lines. And also, of course, Ministry for the Environment, we work closely with them on hazardous materials, and also as time goes on with carbon reduction issues and matters as they relate to lighting. A member of the Global Lighting Association. This is a group of 36 lighting industry associations around the world. It's genuinely global, big Asian representation, Japan, Korea, China, as well as America, Canada and the USA are very much involved. And we, as New Zealanders, learn a lot from this alliance and about international action on a range of different issues and matters, learning to adapt to the digital lighting revolution and keeping educated and up to date on those matters. And we, as a board member of Global Lighting Association, participate in writing various documents, helping to produce documents that come out under the Global Lighting Association banner, good practice guidelines, position papers, and critiques of various issues, both good and bad issues that come up in relation to lighting. And we're here to help. So if there are any questions or input that's needed, we're not a consultancy, so we don't provide in-depth technical help on a specific matter, but very, very happy to help both private and public sector on any issues which relate to lighting standards, compliance issues, appropriate issues, both technical and non-technical. So that's what we're about. And I shall now hand over to Chris to speak about lighting and human interaction.